Hello, hello, hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, it's wonderful to see you all. Guess what? We're back.
Yeah, finally.
Finally. We had a bit of a break, and there were some technical issues that we were getting on many occasions, and we just wanted to take a break from it and see how we could work things out. So it's wonderful to be back, to see you all, to speak to you all, and to share knowledge and education and empowerment, because that's the most important thing. We are trying to empower each other. It's not about me empowering you or you empowering yourself. It's about all of us empowering each other. So without further ado, now we have, let me just say this first. I'm so happy I have this person next to me. Yeah. She who must be obeyed.
I keep telling you, stop telling everybody that. Anyway, that's fine. That's fine.
All right, okay. But that being said, you know, we have a wonderful guest, and we have had such a week, and you know, things have been happening in the background. Dear Quasi, he's about to find out that
oh Lord.
Yes, that sometimes when the table turns, it turns very quickly.
Yeah.
So,
indeed.
Yeah, the lady said she wasn't about for you to.
No. The lady's not returning.
Well, look like she's doing a 360. That being said, look, tonight we have a wonderful guest, a financial educator, Dr. Sarah
Kasasa. That's going to try and help us navigate.
We're going to navigate the perils of finances, both personal and business. And we're going to keep it short because we used to do the 1 hour long interviews. And as we have learned that it's a little bit long for certain people. So we've curtailed it a little bit to make it a half hour.
Condense.
We can, yes, condense. Proper word, condense. So what we're now doing is, okay, we're doing it for the half hour. It might go, you know, a couple of minutes over, but that's it. Yeah. So that being said, let us introduce our special guest, a doctor, a scientist.
We should find out more. Let's bring her in.
Okay, let's bring her in.
Welcome, Dr. Sarah Kasasa. Come on in.
Hello,
my dear.
How are you?
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much. How are you two doing?
We are fabulous and happy to be here with you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Lovely to see you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation, actually. I really appreciate it.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And you know what? We've learned so much in very short time. And I'm sure people will actually understand that within our community, there are some seriously brilliant people. And that's what we try our best to promote, the people who are out there in our community, and for us to make use of their skill set. Okay. So, you know, so we're going to ask you a few questions about what you do and how you can help those of us who are out there in their financial issues. So first and foremost, may I ask you, who are you and where are you from?
So as you have introduced me, my name is Dr. Sarah Kasasa. And yes, I am Ugandan born, as in East Africa. So my family are still East African, still live there. But most of my siblings are actually in the UK. So that's where I was born, and actually came to the UK when I was about 14 and have been in the UK since. I'm not saying how many years, but anyway, it's a long time, I'd say. So most of my schooling has actually been, you know, from secondary schooling in the UK. Started off in Wales, and then a little bit around the country, almost a scenic route. But now I'm actually based in London. But yes, you were saying my background is a scientist. So I come from a medical family. My father was a medical practitioner, my mother a nurse. And I've got about 4 siblings now who have studied medicine. And I studied pathology. So that's where my scientific background came from. I was a pathologist and became a microbiologist, and then roundabout came to where I am today.
Okay.
Gosh.
So you know
that is extensive in itself.
Yeah, you should take a breather just for a moment.
No, that is amazing.
Now, the next question is, I mean, you have a range of skill sets, and part of that microbiology. And prior to that, you said that you were a dentist. Is that correct? Is that before or after?
Afterwards.
Yeah.
So yes, so I was a pathologist to begin with. So I was and then specialized into microbiology. And really, again, the interest was looking at disease and infection. So I specialized in there and kind of did, amazing jobs scaling buildings across London to look at Legionnaire's disease and things like that. Wow. So having come from a microbiologist, I was looking at bugs already, and then went into look at gum disease. So while I was looking at gum disease, again, research on, as a scientist then, looking at gum disease and what causes it and how to prevent it. This is how I actually acquired my PhD. And then from my PhD, while I was there and I was looking in the mouth, it was kind of an idea to actually look further into the mouth. And then from my PhD, I then went on to study dentistry. So literally on the back of one, I literally finished one degree on the Friday, and on the Monday, I started my 5-year training as a dentist.
Okay. So now I don't want to say everything, but I think that you not only studied as a dentist, but you went one further, which was what?
So really, the dentistry was the last thing that I did. The pathology and the science were before that. And so now what I have gone on to do is to do more in financial education. So it's kind of a scientist, but from scientists, I've kind of stepped aside a little bit, not completely, not in its entirety, because I still believe in educating people, and I still believe in educating around dental disease. That's really the first thing that I care most about. And I still do that in children, and I still do that with children's education in schools, just so that we can prevent the adult. And in so doing,
do you still have...
So how did you fall into the financial? What made you think, okay, being a financial educator is where I'm going to go now? How did that bridge happen?
So like I say, I considered myself very highly educated. I've sort of got 4 degrees. But at the time when I started learning a little bit more about finance, I had my own practice. I had my own practice in London as a dentist. So, and I was there for 10 years. And while I was there, I was actually looking for some business planning and some kind of planning going forward. And one of my friends actually told me he had met somebody who was doing that. And I actually wanted to know how they could help me with my planning. And so that's how I kind of almost fell onto them. But actually, the main thing that actually attracted me to it was the fact that they saved me a lot of money. They saved me £170 a month on a product that I was already paying for. And then they taught me some smarter ways with money so I could be smarter going forward in saving money and just being smarter with what I do with my money. And I was so impressed. So I decided, I was going to change to being a part-time dentist, and finance was going to be the other thing. So it's both about education, but one's on financial health and one's on dental health.
Okay, so now let us go to the financial health, because that's where we are with our dear Mr. Mr. Kwasi,
at the moment.
And so what's your opinion of that situation that he's faced right now? Before we go into the financial aspect, what do you think has happened?
I feel that I think politics is always one of those areas that you can never do the right thing. You can never make everybody happy. It's always a challenge to make a decision. And I think because the government's just changed so recently, I think it's felt that, there was too much change too soon, too quickly, too dramatic. And people almost need to be kind of coaxed into the right thing. I think it's a little bit, maybe because I come from an Afro-Caribbean background, I think, he's on the hot seat, really. And, it's on a reflection, people can have certain connotations as to why, he is as he is. But really, I think that it's just the fact that, the idea to change everything for probably very dramatically is what's caused that, even though some of the actual ideas were good ideas, really. He just, I think, unfortunately, is in the firing seat.
He's in the firing seat at the moment. Okay. Yeah, exactly.
So the thing that we wanted to speak to you about was the financial education aspect of what you do. Now, how can you help people? What would you say is the main strength for you helping people? What can people expect from you?
So, I mean, because of Mr. Kwasi being in the sort of firing line, is, you know, it's unfortunate. But the reason why we've got to where we've got with him is because we're obviously going through a cost of living crisis anyway.
Yeah.
And at the moment, the economy, you know, the UK, globally, yes, but at the UK at the moment is kind of a little bit challenging for most people, and most people are faced with between now and the end of the year. It seems to be getting probably worse.
Yeah.
And people are probably not fully aware of it. So what we do is by educating people, by really help where they are. For instance, by doing a financial review, you can actually get to see exactly where you are and assess where you are, and then plan forward to try and see how you can maybe reduce the impact it's going to have, because we are going to be hit. But it's trying to find a way that you can manage your finances better, and therefore be better prepared for the massive changes that are, you know, are going to hit all of us without a doubt. So it's the smart decisions, the knowledgeable decisions. It's, you know, knowing what to do, and being able to kind of slightly mitigate those circumstances rather than actually just falling headlong in. And so that's what we do by helping people to financially manage where they are and make better decisions really for themselves, for their families, for their businesses.
Yeah.
So in terms of the review, how does that how does that process work? If I
So
was going to have a review, or we were.
Okay, so most people, obviously, when we have our finances, we kind of plan ourselves what we think we should do. But we, with expertise that we have, we actually give a complimentary financial review. So we actually take a client and actually look at everything, every financial area of their life, and actually look at it in great detail, and produce this incredible report that actually details exactly where that client is, what they're spending, where they're saving, where they need to invest, where they need to make smarter choices. And it's so broad and so in depth that gives you almost like a fan can go how to get there, and some of the tools are within that as well. So, and that's quite important to actually start as a starting point before you start to make any other decisions.
Yeah. And in regards to any tips at all, like for right now, obviously people are finding it extremely difficult to see where they're going to spend their money in regards to business. I'm not sure what tools you, or what tips you would give for people right now.
So the important thing that I would say at in time, it's not just about cutting costs, because I'll cut costs. Where are you going to cut the costs from? You know, the energy prices are going up, food's going up, fuel's going up, and obviously there are reasons why that's going. Had a very big winter, and we're going to have another big winter. So, you know, we've used up our energy reserves. But it's not really just about cutting costs. It's about being effective in what you're doing, and actually being, you know, maybe looking at the products that you have. You might be paying more for a particular product, so maybe that's not the best value product. So in making those smarter choices, you could actually inadvertently save quite a bit of money, so more money in your pocket, which could then help to kind of, you know, pay towards these bills that you've got as well. So things like that. There's many little tips that we can give on a personal level, because everyone is different. But ultimately, for instance, if it's energy, you know, you need to kind of see where it is, whether you got the best energy provider, for instance. And if it's leases that you've got, it's looking at whether that's the best lease that you've got. So we've got really advisors who can help in those areas. And really, it's about where we can save you. And by saving you, maybe, for instance, some people might be having bigger debts at this moment in time, because, you know, you have business debts. I've been in business. I know you sort of borrow a certain amount. So if you had business debts, maybe it's how we can show you how you can accelerate these debts, so getting you out of debt a lot sooner. So that's something that we work on as well, so you can be more financially free, so you've got more money again to use somewhere else. So it's those sort of things, and that we can give as tips to actually specific areas to actually improve money in your pocket, really.
Okay, so can you give me a specific area that you would say, okay, this is what someone would do if they were in this situation? Can you give me one example of, you know, someone in debt and wanting to make a change, a transition from where they are?
So debt, like I say, is a big problem, the fact that when you're in debt, it really prevents you most of the things that you do. So your hands are tied. It's a huge limitation to being able to, once you've got no money to put into a new business, maybe to excel. And as a person, it impacts your personal life as well. So it's not just the business becomes at home. So we have certain strategies that show you how to, so that, for instance, if you was going to waste time, and like I say, somebody might not have the money to put back, and sometimes it even surprises me because that how quickly the debts accelerator tool that we put into their particular debt, and it speeds up the acceleration of their debt, and without actually having to put more money really into it. And that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Can just double checking. Can you hear us? Because we just had a line
just had
cut.
a blip there. Are you?
Yes.
Do you hear me okay?
I can still hear you. Yes, I can.
Good. Brilliant. Okay.
Right. In terms of when the process, how long does the process take until you stated that you went through an in-depth dive basically of someone's financial situation? How long does that process take? And is that a process that is online, or you individually come to see that person? How does that process work?
Thank you. That's a very important question because, ideally, people like to speak to someone on a one-to-one, face-to-face. COVID has changed a lot of that. And so we can be thankful for COVID. Now we're easy to be accessed online, similar as what we've got now. So you can actually be in your home and we can be where we are, and we can actually, take care of you online and actually assess all your finances online. And you can actually see the screen as we're assessing them. And then we can actually produce a report. And again, we present the report to you online so you can see it exactly as we're filling it in, and all the details are in there. So it's relatively easy to do that. But the appointments can take an hour to 2 hours, an hour and a half to 2 hours for the first appointment. And then once we produce the report, it can take another 1 to 2 hours to actually present that to you, because it's quite an in-depth report.
So in terms of present that to you, so you're going through that report with the individual to look at the areas and to double check exactly if that information tallies with where they're at. Is that correct?
Yes. Absolutely. So it's an in-depth on where they are. So they obviously give us their financial information. So whatever bills they're paying, whatever's going out, whatever's coming in, and it's a full report based on everything that's coming in and going out. So that's how you can assess where they are and where they need to get to.
Okay, all right. Well, we're going to hold it there for a moment, Dr. Sarah. This is really intriguing, and I hope people are getting at least something from it. It sounds to me like you're saying, this is not really a time to retract that kind of thing, but just sort of navigate differently how you're dealing with your money, especially as a business. Yeah, would that be right?
Absolutely. Because really, when you say cutbacks, where are you going to cut back? You have to pay these bills. So people are already probably on a budget. And so, it's where you need to make those smarter choices is what it's about. Really.
Right. Okay. That is brilliant. Thank you. We're not going anywhere yet. We're doing things a little bit differently online. Let's hope it works.
Yeah.
Right. But we're going to go for a short little break. But what we're going to do is showcase and
some of the businesses
so that you can see where you can get any products or services from. So we'll be back with you in about a minute or so. All right, everyone. I hope you enjoy. really. Hey everyone,
We are back.
Hope you enjoyed that.
Hope you enjoyed that. And remember, you can advertise the Black Business Recommendation. If you have an inquiry, just send a note, an email to inquiries@blackbusinessrecommendation.com. And so now we return back to Dr. Sarah,
and continue the conversation.
We continue the conversation
on tools that can be used back right now and not be retracting in business. That's a really important thing right now.
Because I mean, is that the same? Will that apply the same thing for your personal finance, or is that just the business finance? Because I noted you noted that it was you have to pay those bills anyway. So you're in business; those are the bills that you have to pay. You have to find a way to pay them. Do you help your clients to structure a way to pay if circumstances become dictate how things are going to go?
So really, as you were saying, whatever your business is, it does actually have an impact on your personal finances, especially if you're relying on your business to supply your personal life. So it's important. The two are they're not that separate, because the impact it has on one does impact the other. But also, really, if you structure the way you pay certain bills or certain debts or certain anything, you can apply the same principles on a business level and on a personal level. So we do delve into a lot more depth with personal finance as well, to make sure that it's structured, and then if necessary we refer to experts who would actually take care of that particular area if you needed more specialist advice in a lot more depth. So though we structure it, you can go even further than that. But yes, both of them work, similar principles work.
Right. Okay. So the takeaways right now for me is, as a business owner, is not to panic or go for what comes naturally, which would be to retract kind of thing. And it's more about, okay, looking at how best to move your money, or to look at or to redress certain things, and how you're doing certain practices, and perhaps changing that or making that work in a different way. Would you say that's
yes,
what
analysis?
Absolutely. I think absolutely, because really at the end of the day, it's not really about the cost of living as such. It's what cost is it also to your life. So while everybody's going through these challenges right now, the impact it's going to have on their health is also cannot be understated, coming from a health perspective. And so even simple things like making sure that your health care is taken care of properly, effectively, and cost effectively as well. Maybe putting certain healthcare plans in place, even simple things like, for instance, if you're going to look at things like life insurance, if you were to fall sick and you had sickness cover, how long are you going to wait on that NHS list? And if so, when are you going to then recover to go back to work? And what impact is it going to have on your business, really? Because at the end of the day, your health is just as important. And the two, like I say, financial health and in a way, health, body health, are very much kind of intertwined. And so really it's putting things in place, and we do a lot of that as well. So we look at various aspects of health plans that somebody wants to put in place, policies that may need to be put in place, but even things like, for instance, looking at leases. People have leases that that might not be the best lease for you, and at the moment, with the rising interest rates for leases or for mortgages, it's trying to find whether it's best to change to one that's going to ideally help you long term, rather than what you're going through now and having risk, the one that's going to go up and up and up, and then it's not sustainable. So it's various things that we look at to actually address the various areas in business and in personal finance.
Oh, wow.
Okay. All right. So on the personal level now, so I suppose we could say right now, what would be the best thing for me to do in terms of, I've only got a limited amount of money, but I don't really want to, there's things that I want to do with it. What things should we should be looking at on a personal level to either save or how to manage that money that's coming in?
Okay, so the money coming in. So, obviously having a budget is very important. So, because not everybody has a budget, everybody's money sometimes comes in. Not everybody sits down. Some people are particularly organized and they have things like spreadsheets. They're very impressive. But everybody can have a budget. And we give budget sheets to help people to actually sort that bit out so that they know exactly where the money's going. Because sometimes money seems to disappear and you don't know where it's gone. But also making sure that your money is going to the right things. So, by doing this financial review, we actually look at, for instance, debts. We look at the mortgages and we look at what we can change about that. We look at your bills and what you're doing with those bills and whether we can get you a better value, more cost effective, product or service that you're doing. And in all the different areas that has an impact. So on a personal level, you can completely change where you are, within a space of maybe 1 or 2 years, which might have taken you 10 or 15 years to actually do that, for not just for debts. There's lots of things that you can change, and we just teach people how to accelerate them. But if also you wanted to, there's ways that you can put your money in something that's give you a better return than putting it into maybe just an ordinary standard savings account. So we teach people about smart investing as well, because you want your money to grow and to actually be giving you some kind of return. So at this moment in time, on the budget, on savings and emergency funds and things like that, people don't put in place. It's quite important to make sure that those areas are actually considered and put in place.
Okay. So here's a question from my point. Is it advisable to have, let's say, like 4 bank accounts? Are you there?
So, all right. I am.
Yes, I can hear you.
Very just
a little bit choppy.
So it's not so much the number of has. It sounds like a great things like collecting thing. It's really the type of bank account that we have. Most of us, so the kind of accounts that we have and what return you're getting on that. So for instance, if you had a savings account, most people less than 1%, and yet they don't know. So if you could find an account, and they are there, not necessarily in a bank, that you can put your money in so your money can grow at a much faster rate so you can get a better return, then that makes better sense than actually the number. But even setting money aside, like I said, for savings, money aside for emergency fund, money aside for investing, a lot of people don't do this. So when emergency happens, like now, this cost of living, but if you had an emergency fund that had been accumulated, that would actually take care of some of these hikes in these prices that are going, because we haven't set our places in that way. We just know the money comes in and out. You're not prepared for such and so people who are prepared are better equipped.
That was what I was alluding to, because I was surmising that if you have a bank account for, the rainy day fund, you have a bank account for, your day-to-day bills, you have a bank account for,
which I suppose is good,
for your holiday, and then your bank account to, your party time, then you have an idea of where all your money is at any particular time that you can work within. Because, within our community, we have 1 bank account, maybe 2. Which is the savings and the natural, the normal current account. But, it's that kind of education that we need to develop so that we can actually see our money and make our money progress for us and have investments placed in the right place without our investment money connected to our current account that we can access any day, because we're never going to invest.
And actually, what you're saying is true, because one of the things that we teach, we call it the 70-10-10-10 rule. And that usually is teaching people how whatever income comes in, you should live on 70%. It's a bit of a squeeze, but 70% of what comes in should be what everything should come out of. And then a 10% should be for savings and an emergency fund. 10% for charity, if you tithe in church or charitable organization, and the third 10% should be towards long-term savings, which are also going to give you a return. So if you have a 70-10-10-10 rule, you will find that those people are never short of money. They're never in difficulties, because they've always got, like you say, the happy fund, the holiday fund is in the savings. You don't have to dip into that credit card because you've already got those savings in there. An emergency fund, again, you're not going to borrow money or go more into debt, because you've already got an account that you put in every month that's going to help you to have that money. So it's actually doing that on a regular basis for years, and that's what helps. So
yeah.
Can I ask you the importance of giving to charity, and how can that be offset by your taxes? Is there a benefit when you give to charity that you can claim back from taxes? These are the kind of things that we don't know about per se.
So that's definitely an area that is a way of, when you say offsetting, there's certain things that, you're liable for tax, but anything charitable, you actually don't pay tax on that. So, you can actually give. And I think giving is a great thing to be able to give to charity. To a certain extent, you've got to have enough for yourself, because they say charity starts from the home. But really, in reality, there's certain areas where you don't have to pay tax. So you want to make sure that these things actually apply to you. They're obviously tax efficient places, just like, putting money aside for pensions. I can't tell you how many people I speak to who are just relying on the state pension. So if you put money aside in a tax efficient vehicle, these things you don't pay tax on, and they're actually going to pay you out dividends really later on in life. So it's, again, putting it in the right place for tax purposes, and really, but legally, the best way to make sure that you aren't sort of caught out by paying more tax than you should pay for certain things like this, especially business.
Lovely.
Oh, thank you.
This has been wonderful.
It's been a wonderful session of talking with you. And I think that, a lot of people are going to get a lot of information from that. And do the research as well, people, because it's one thing, you've got someone who can help you in terms of your financial advice, your education, but it's also for you to go and check exactly where you are and call someone like Dr. Sarah, who can support you to make the right choices, and you can make educated choices, which is the most important thing.
And should you wish to contact her, Dr. Sarah, you can do. The email is there at the bottom. All right. If you had any questions or you just wanted to follow up and you liked what you heard from Dr. Sarah, and I'm sure that she will be in contact with you and be more happy than happy to to help you,
speak to you, to
speak with you. Okay, but Dr. Sarah, it's been a pleasure speaking with you and sharing great information and tools that's going to help us in this crisis right now.
In saying so, we've got next week, we have got someone that we are dying to speak to. We've got two sessions that we're going to have. One, we're going to be talking about investments. And recently, I met with a group of people where we were speaking about property investment as well as gold bullion. And so the whole idea was to buy gold bullion to actually buy property for the longer term, not for immediate right now. But the idea is to raise money, both for yourself or for purposes of investment. So we're going to be speaking about that next week. I'm just finalizing the details for people who want to take part in that. And we've also got another interview that next Monday. So we will be seeing you shortly. We are going to end with a couple of adverts. We're doing it the other way around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah?
But we will say bye-bye to, and thank you
very
again
much,
to
Doctor.
Dr. Sarah. Thank you very much, because
it's
the
been
information has been
pleasure.
invaluable, because I know we take it for granted and we think people know, what they know. But it's not until you hear, then you think, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Yeah. So thank you for imparting your information to us. And we wish you all the best.
We hope you enjoyed it.
I did. Thank you so much for inviting me along. And I hope it's been very helpful for people. It's really them understanding it's about money management, and we actually can help them with that. So thank you very much for inviting me on as a guest. Yes, I've enjoyed it very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Blessing to you. You take care.
You take care and look after yourself, and we'll be in touch. Take care now.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So everybody, we end the first one back.
Yep.
Okay, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Hang around, because we're going to show you an array of
other
businesses that you can find services and products from. Okay, but we look forward to seeing you again next week. All right.
Okay. You take care.
Now.
Blessing to you all.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.